use the graph of y equals 2 to the x to sketch this new graph. Now, the new graph, they wouldn't necessarily have to tell you that. You would have to say, I noticed that that's the parent graph, and I know what my parent graph looks like. It has the point 0, 1, 1, 2, with an asymptote at y equals 0. And I want to graph y equals 3 times 2, and here we have a horizontal reflection and a horizontal translation, so you would have to remember to write that in factored form. Again, if my original function has a 2 to the x, I'm going to put a box around that 2 to the x to remind myself that those things are not part of the transformation. Those are part of my parent graph. So when I'm labeling what are the things that do affect my translation, this 3 is a vertical stretch. Your y values are going to get multiplied by 3. Here we have a horizontal reflection. Your x values by -1, and a horizontal translation 2 to the right. The most tempting thing that you'll have in this question is to multiply that 3 in front by the 2. But you have to remember, order of operations, exponents happen before multiplication in BEDMAS. And so if you do multiply before you apply the exponent, you are going against the order of operations. So we take our points on our original graph, which are 0, 1, and 1, 2, and our asymptote at y equals 0. We do our translations. All of our stretches and compressions first. So our y value is going to get multiplied by 3, our x value by -1. And then our translations, we only have one translation going 2 to the right. And so if you multiply your y values by 3 and x values by -1, you're going to get 0, 3. X by -1, y by 3, -1, 6. 2 to the right, 2, 3, 2 to the right, 1, 6. What's the only thing that's going to affect your asymptote at y equals 0? Is if you translate it up or down. We do not translate it up or down anywhere. So it will stay at y equals 0. We can now draw our new graph. Start with your asymptote, which is still at y equals 0. Label your points. We have the point 2, 3, and 1, 6. Based on those points, it's going to swoop down. And we've gone and drawn our graph. Part B, they asked us to do some properties of this graph. Is it increasing or decreasing? This one is decreasing. If we wanted to find an intercept, it has no x-intercept, but if I wanted to find the y-intercept when x is 0, I could plug 0 into my original equation. If I plug in 0 for x into my original equation, I get 3 times 2 to the 2, which is 0, 12. Our asymptote stayed at y equals 0. And when we go to write our domain and range of this function, the domain is everything. Asymptote is at 0, so your range is greater than or equal, or just greater than 0, not equal to 0. questions for practice, 10 and 13.